Today is a really special episode. We are genuinely honored to be joined by Kim Ressler. This is someone whose work we deeply respect, whose voice we trust, and whose impact is being felt in real lives, not just online or in textbooks, but in families, clinics, and communities. The depth, integrity, and heart she brings to her work align so beautifully with what we stand for here at Root Cause. So if you're listening right now, lean in because this conversation is very important. We are grateful you're here.
Welcome to Root Cause Holistic Health. I'm Dr. John Harmon, physician, brain health expert, and your host on this no-fluff journey into whole body healing.
And I'm Tracey Green, wellness coach, mom, and co-host in this space where we get real about what actually heals, not just what's trending.
We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Well, Kim, I want to give our listeners a little bit about your background before we get started. I knew Kim when she lived in the Boise area, and she went off to be the big CEO of a company and needed to go where the action is. But we're really happy to have you on today, Kim. Let me just tell the listeners a little bit about you. You are founder and CEO of SNiP Nutrigenomics, and you're going to explain to us what that is in a few minutes. But it's a company transforming human performance and longevity through DNA personalized nutrition. A lot of people who hear this will not have heard of that before. After over a decade of unresolved health struggles, Kim discovered nutrigenomics, the breakthrough science that allowed her to identify the exact nutrients her genes needed to function optimally. What a concept. The shift was profound, restoring her energy, cognitive clarity, balanced inflammatory responses, and resilience. Driven by her own transformation, Kim launched SNiP Nutrigenomics to democratize precision wellness. I want you to explain that when we're done. Democratize precision wellness. Taking tools once available only to elite athletes, biohackers, and high net worth individuals and making them accessible, affordable, and easy to integrate at scale. The NIH, that's the National Institute of Health, projects that precision nutrition will become the cornerstone of medicine by 2030, positioning Kim and SNiP at the leading edge of a future that is rapidly becoming a new standard. Today, Kim is a leading voice in the evolution of personalized medicine, translating complex gene science into simple, actionable upgrades for energy, metabolism, detoxification, emotional balance. Everybody needs a little of that, and long-term health span extension. Her work empowers biohackers and practitioners to unlock peak performance by aligning nutrition with genetic design, optimizing the body from the blueprint out. Wow, I love that. A mother of four, Kim lives in sunny Laguna Beach. I'm sure you don't want to move back to Boise, California, with her husband and youngest daughter. She loves long walks on the beach, live music, farm-to-table cuisine, and traveling to places where she can enjoy all three. Hopefully one of those is Boise in the future. Kim, welcome to the show. It's so good to see you. I'm excited to hear what you have to say today for our listeners.
Thank you, Dr. John and Tracey. It's awesome to be here. And yes, I will be back in Boise. You do know one of my children still lives there.
Oh, so I need to track her down.
Him.
And put a little fire under. Hey, Mom, can you come and visit us?
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Your personal story includes a decade of unexplained health struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share how understanding your genetics transformed your health?
Right. Yeah, I would be happy to. So I think if you're listening, I think that it's the standard It started after the delivery of my baby girl who just turned 18, right? And it was, you feel totally defeated when you go to the provider and you're like, I'm not feeling well. Your blood work looks normal. Everything should be fine. And it was the symptoms, and they just kept compounding year by year by year. In 2014, I learned a little bit about genetics, but I didn't know. You said a question there, so I'll start to go all over the place here. But in the past, using genetics and nutrigenomics, which is optimizing genetics through nutrition, that's nutrigenomics. It was too expensive for the masses. It was something that only your elites did. That's what I want to make this easy for the masses to be able to do.
So Kim, you mentioned that it was very expensive and only elites could afford it. Back then,
yeah.
What was the range of what it would cost someone to have this done?
Well, when I learned about genetics, my girlfriend had done her genetic testing through somebody like 23andMe is what she had done. But then that just gives you information. What do you do with it, right? She had taken it to a doctor, and over the next 9 months, she spent $10,000 mapping the genes.
Wow.
So, and I'm here to say that's not necessary with what we do. We do all the mapping, but that was why it wasn't accessible for the masses. First, it was the genetic testing, and then it was the mapping. After the mapping comes the recommendations, and you could be upwards of, I've seen people on upwards of 70 supplements, 70 different jars, some before breakfast, some with, some after, some before lunch, some with, some after. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you've ever had to do like a specific protocol for a health condition that you're wanting to go after naturally. But I mean, we had to do something for my daughter last year, and it added in like 7 supplements. That was confusing enough for me, of doing that routine daily, right? People can't do that. I understand if it's a specific health condition, but foundationally, day in, day out, we can't live that way. So,
Kim, have people mentioned to you, okay, you take this one as soon as you get up, and then these right before breakfast, and then these with breakfast, then these in between meals, and then this with, it's overwhelming. And so many people have told me, I can't even keep up with that.
Right. Or the cost. Right. I mean, believe me, nutrition, and we're going to talk about the importance of nutrition, but nutrition is so crucial. We know that our food supply does not have the nutrients that we need. That's why most people do supplement. Why are they supplementing? Is it in the right format? But if you do go and you see a functional doctor they're amazing, right? Or a naturopath, etc.
Yeah.
You walk out the door and they want to send you out the door with $1,200 worth of supplements. I've seen it over and over, and
As have we.
And the thing is, that was a 1 month supply. And maybe a couple of those things are 2 months, but I've sent girlfriends and friends to people that would want to put them on a protocol. And believe me, I'm sure the protocol is great, but then I'll have the friend call me, Kim, that doctor was amazing. They wanted me to buy $1,200 of supplements. That's 1 month. I can't afford that. I can afford that. My girlfriend said, I can afford that, but I'm not spending that. Mm-hmm. That's just ridiculous. I mean, she goes, that was a 1 month supply. And I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, we know we need nutrition, but let's make it affordable with clean, high quality ingredients and simple. So that's what SNiP is coming in to do.
So you've talked about, the foundational, covering your bases according to your genes. Could you kind of dive a little deeper into that?
Yeah. And I mean, that could go in so many different directions. Each of us, if we go back, so think about this. You buy a new car or a blender, doesn't matter. You buy an electronic piece of equipment, whatever it may be, you get an owner's manual. We don't get an owner's manual when we're born. Yet we have genes. We have 2 types of genes, non-actionable and actionable. Non-actionable would be your height, your eye color, your hair color, etc. I can't suddenly take and make you turn you from 5'1" to 6'3" with nutrition. I can't, right? That's not that. But there are actionable genes that impact metabolism, energy, body mass index, the body's ability to detox, inflammation, immune resilience, etc., right? And they're heavy hitting actionable genes, which mean they carry a lot of weight in your propensity to develop disease, right? So think about this. When I first saw my genetics, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got all these heart markers. Hello, it makes sense. It lines up. My grandmother, my grandfather, etc., right? Like, we know that certain things run in families. Well, we inherit those genetics from our parents, but these actionable genes, such as heart disease, so let's talk about that for a minute. It's the number one killer. But did you know that 80 to 90% of all heart health matters, in other words, issues, can be resolved through diet, lifestyle, they're preventable. Is that amazing? So
it is.
So then, so take that next step, understanding those genetics and understanding that those are key actionable genes that science has said give this type of nutrition in this format, in this dose, with these cofactors, you can optimize when you've got these quote unquote mutations or little glitches in what your genetics are telling me. And that's where we take it to the personalization just for the individual.
So earlier you mentioned that you had gone to the doctor, you had all these symptoms and you're being told everything's normal, which we have all been there. We've had several guests on the show. We've talked about that very thing. So for our listeners who are feeling overwhelmed by all this health information coming at them, they feel like they've tried everything. What is one simple practical step that they can take to start supporting their nervous system from like a DNA standpoint?
Well, I think first is knowing your own DNA. Writing down where is it? Can you not sit in the moment? Can you not relax? Can you not lose weight? Are you getting sick frequently? It's things like that, right? First and foremost, your DNA doesn't change. Starting with the DNA test is that is your own owner's manual. It tells me why these genes, why they function the way they function, why you have those predispositions. It tells us your strengths and your weaknesses. And now I can empower you simply and easily to harness the power of your own genetics for a better health outcome.
I cannot believe that it's 2026 and we're in I can't believe it's 2026, but we're in the health space. I've been in the health space for a really long time, especially with going to root cause. I mean, I've been researching things for my daughter. My daughter is 18 as well, graduated in May. So I'm right there with you, Mama. So for 18 years, I've been researching all of this and taking a more holistic lifestyle approach. And I can't believe that DNA testing isn't like a part of like your annual physical, your annual once a year things that you do. Why are we not getting a DNA test and getting that roadmap or that book, owner's manual about us? This is amazing to me.
Yeah. I mean, we all should be. We should be starting with our genetics to understand. Science is there. It's been there for a long time, and the cost of being able to do this genetic mapping is now it's affordable. We should know the what and why behind things just to optimize, because if we go to that genetic level and where you have those glitches, and if you can fill in the gap, in other words, put a patch on it. I think that's one way Dr. John would talk. Put the patch where you've got that glitch.
Yeah.
To optimize when our DNA is functioning optimally, we have healthier cells, we have healthier tissues, then healthier organs, then healthier systems. The whole body functions at a higher level.
And Kim, one of the big buzzwords in this genetics field right now is the MTHFR variant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it shows up in things like I mentioned to you before. I noticed differences between my brother and myself. Mm-hmm. One, at a very early age, I noticed when we were walking to school, and in the winter, people actually walked to school back then. We didn't take
uphill both ways.
And people would have their cars out in the driveway warming up because they're going to work or they're taking the kids to school, whatever. My parents, we walked.
Right.
But I noticed that I couldn't walk through the exhaust without getting overwhelmed, and I would walk way out in the street around this exhaust. That was the first thing. But then when mom would send us to the store to go get some groceries or something, I couldn't walk down the detergent aisle because my eyes and sinuses would start watering. Lo and behold, I fast forward like, I don't know, 60 years almost, and I find out that I can't detox very well. Maybe our listeners could really relate to just that right there, the MTHFR variant or whatever other variant you can add to that.
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, yes, MTHFR is making nutrigenomics famous right now because it impacts so many different things, right? But I need to caution everybody on this. You can't just look and address that folic acid to folate conversion. You have to address oxidative stress, detox, and inflammation to get the biggest bang. And that's exactly what you were just talking about. You were talking about the fact that it's like the classic old aunt, you've got that lady, she's 103 and she's sitting there smoking a cigarette and it doesn't bother her. But the person next to her, like you, Dr. Harmon, if you just smell that cigarette smoke, you would be more prone to developing that sinus infection, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are your genetics. Those are the what and why behind. And where you have those weaknesses or those gaps, we want to fill in that gap and support that gene to function more optimally so that your body can do that function better.
Would you say that some people, or maybe you could tell me if some people have explained something like this to you, people think I'm weird because I can't do that. They think I should be able to do it because I'm a human. And they don't realize that, we have different genes. I can't digest that, or I can't do this, or detox, or something like that. Give us a good example of that, if you could.
Of which? Of detoxing?
A variant that maybe someone has mentioned. Yeah, people just thought I was just making stuff up.
Oh, well, I mean, okay, let's talk about immune resilience, right? Okay. All right. So vitamin D. Vitamin D is crucial. It impacts over 6,000 biochemical pathways in our body, okay? And not only that, it is related to all-cause mortality. So when we have low vitamin D levels, it's related to that. Well, we look at vitamin D receptors. In general, I'm that person to sit out in the sun. Everybody goes, oh, I'm going out to get my vitamin D. I don't take and convert from sun into my body very well, right? I was that classic case, healthy child, but suddenly in my teenage years, I got sick, and then suddenly I just kept being sick and sick and sick, over and over. Finally, if you're listening, and you've never done your vitamin D serum levels, I absolutely push you to do that. It's immune resilience, it's bone health, it's mood health, it's mental health. Vitamin D, as I said, impacts 6,000 biochemical pathways in your body, right? I urge you to go get your levels tested of what your current vitamin D is, but understanding then genetics, that takes it another level. And I know exactly the dose of vitamin D that I need to keep my vitamin D levels at an optimal level, so let's talk about how that's impacted me. People look at me and they're like, everybody at my house had the flu a couple of weeks ago. Guess who didn't get it? I mean, I'm not saying I never get sick, but when we know where our weaknesses are and we know what we have to do, like I said, I'm that person that going out in the sunlight, even though I live in sunny Southern California, sitting out in the sun, I actually have to internally ingest vitamin D as well, just to keep that vitamin D level where I need to. Is that a good example?
Yes, absolutely. And also over my career, prior to this nutrigenomics, I would have patients come in and we would do their blood and their vitamin D levels really low. And they say, well, I'm taking 10,000 units a day. And I said, and back then I didn't know about this variant. And people who have that VDR variant, if they have both got it from mama and daddy, they have to take higher doses. And does your customized nutrition support that?
We do for the most part. There are rare scenarios. There's a couple of genes that actually sit through that pathway too, of how we actually take it from our liver or our kidneys and release it into the body. So there are some people even still that may need to take it in a very specific format that might be out of mind. Normally, we can see it, we hit it, because I think the other thing about genetics and the confusion, because it is complicated, right? It's very complicated, and you start chasing. One gene will say do this, another gene says don't do this if it said this on this, and then you're really confused, right? So the whole goal is making this simple, easy to understand, and then being able to track. And if you're still not getting there, you might find, because I have seen there are people that there's even more underlying. So that's getting really like down the rabbit hole, but they may have to take it in another format. But these genes all start working together. So let's go back to that MTHFR. Okay. So if we talk about, MTHFR, if we look it up, MTHFR gene mutation symptom, I tell people to look it up. You ready? This is good. What you're going to get: anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, women in childbearing years can't get pregnant, spina bifida, common recurrent miscarriages, chronic aches and pains, chronic fatigue, ADHD. The list goes on and on. Okay.
So we all have it. So everybody has it.
So what I have found in over 8,000 DNA reviews is about 80. The NIH says a different number. I will beg to differ unless I've only tested people with it, which is very odd. But I would say that number is closer to 80%. So now let's take a step further. MTHFR has to do with how your body converts folic acid into folate, the bioactive format in your body. Let's think about that. Folic acid is added to all kinds of store-bought breakfast cereals, breads. In the state of California, they just passed a law that tortillas have to be made with folic acid.
Oh, man.
Okay. So you take a car that needs premium unleaded gasoline and you put diesel fuel into it. What does it do to the engine?
Wrecks it.
Okay. So let's think about that. When we have a problem with taking that folic acid and converting it to folate, it can start mucking things up. Remember that list of stuff I just gave you? Mm-hmm. Things can start to happen, but it's not just the MTHFR. And that is where I think a lot of people are missing it. It starts at the top at the FUT2 gene, which is the gut-brain connection. It is a bioactive format of vitamin B12. And then it comes back down through the MTHFR. And then we hit MTRR, homocysteine healthy. These all start interconnecting along with oxidative stress and inflammation. To get the best bang, you've got to hit a lot of genes. So that's why in the past, they start mapping one pathway, then another, and suddenly you've got this big arsenal of supplements that you're taking for all of these different things.
What's interesting with all of that is MTHFR just became in the news the last couple of years. And it sounds to me like that's something we all need to know. We need to know if we have that variant for several different reasons. What you can process, what you can't process, what you can detox, what you can't detox.
Right. Yes. This is one of my biggest passions. I think we should know this from the time a child is born. Children with MTHFR markers may react to vaccines differently. You may understanding and knowing this about your child, being given. I want to empower people to take charge of their own health. But how do you do that? You have to do it with information that's easy to understand and digest. But if you knew my child has markers on their MTHFR, you may request an alternative vaccine schedule. You may do different things after your child gets that vaccination, et cetera, just to support their body. And this is why I think it's so important. I mean, if you think about children right now, anxiety, what is anxiety? Okay, or let's start with ADHD. ADHD in school, right? And if you know the MTHFR is highly linked to it, and then I see gluten sensitivity as well is linked to it, but they want to put you on a child on a pharmaceutical, right? Mm-hmm. Well, ADHD does lead to anxiety and does lead to depression, so if we knew from the get-go and we could optimize and calm down the ADHD, have just a a more focused brain, what could we eliminate and alleviate? That's the long term, the long term of understanding, starting young, what you need, why you need it, the format, the dose, etc., is so crucially important to me.
The side effects of those drugs taken as children are horrific.
Gosh.
Some of them.
Well, from what I hear, I mean, it'll stunt growth.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. I'm not a provider. I'm not a doctor. But I've dealt with this with, my own children, of, hey, why the focus. And one time with one of my adulting children, when he was younger, we did try something and he's like, Mom, I don't like how it makes me feel. So, again, nutrigenomics is the future. It's personalization for the individual, understanding your own genetics. It's moving that shift from health as a lifestyle instead of an event. Instead of I have a headache, let's take an Advil, get rid of it. This is let's go to the cellular level, optimize our DNA function, that function where we have those weaknesses on those key heavy hitting genes, and allow the body to do what it needs to do naturally.
Many practitioners and consumers feel so overwhelmed by genetic data. How can we make this science accessible and actionable for everyone? You brought up so many topics right there. I want to just rewind just a little bit and see if we can unpack a little bit of that.
Well, what SNiP does is it is over, well over 30, 40 plus years of science and research, right? We do a simple cheek swab. We decode the data. We make it so that you understand, hey, here's the function of this gene. Either you have variants or you don't. And then we can tell you exactly what we do. After that, we take all of the data based on these key heavy hitting genes. And we give the solution. We actually custom compound one supplement just for you based on your own genetics of impacting immune resilience, inflammatory response, methylation, which is that MTHFR, oxidative stress, gut health, mood, cognitive function, energy in the body. So we're going after all of these different areas with these key heavy hitting genes to help at the foundation of the body.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this right. So anybody anywhere can get a swab kit, I'm guessing, from you. Mm-hmm. And okay, so brand new mom. We talk to moms all the time, especially about vaccines, especially about MTHFR. That's a huge topic. Obviously, vaccines are a huge topic. So I think as a mom, it would be fabulous to be able to do something as simple as a quick cheek swab, send it to you, and then you get that blueprint back on, hey, this baby probably isn't a good candidate for vaccines, and this is why, or have a different.
Well, the parent would be revealed what's going on with the child, and then they could consult with their provider. What's the best route for me? And yes, you're right. A lot, like you said, genetics are overwhelming, but I personally would choose a provider that is willing to. I think this is the next thing we talk about, right? You are in charge of hiring your provider. Okay. A lot of people think you're just stuck with whoever, right? I'm sorry but I had to learn that one. And I sit and I interview my providers. I want somebody that's going to listen to me because I didn't have people listening to me for so long. You pay your insurance premiums or you're paying to see that provider, you're hiring that provider. Yeah. So they need to listen to you, right? We need to make all of this, we need to make the provider be able to understand this. And I would highly advise if this is of a concern of yours, that you find a provider that's willing to listen to you, willing to talk to you, and willing to do a little bit of research on those genetic variants that can be impacted if they do not know already.
I think this is fascinating. There's so many things that new moms, I've been a mom for 18 years, so none of this was around, 18 years ago. So this is fascinating what we can learn about brand new babies and genetics and how to treat them and how to prevent things, Well,
but let's go to people that are in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. That mom that suddenly said, like me, I don't feel well. Mm-hmm. I'm not sleeping. I'm chronically exhausted. I'm doing everything epigenetically correctly. So what are epigenetics? Fresh air, good clean water, moving our bodies, our mindset. Nutrition is one spoke in the wheel. And there's so many things we have to do. We've got to make nutrition simple so that you aren't spending all time and time, energy, and efforts of trying, and to create a healthy lifestyle, small little steps create those habits, right? So let's start with genetics. Let's see strengths and weaknesses. And now I can see too, hey, maybe what kind of diet should you be eating? If you are that person in your 50s and the cholesterol is raising and your ApoB, your apolipoprotein B is raising, what should you do? Well, now, it's your genetics tell us. They tell us everything.
And so when we do the cheek swab, they send it back. 2 questions people ask. What do you do with my genetic information?
Yep.
And the purity of your product. Could you address both of those, Kim?
I would love to. So we are partnered with what we call a level 5 lab. They are CLIA certified and CAP accredited. We are not even collecting data. What does that mean? We're completely HIPAA compliant. I only need your genetic data on actionable genes. I'm only interested in actionable genes. So we actually test 103 of them. Our formula is based on 22 of the heaviest hitters. We impact outside of those 22, obviously, but we do release it and we create additional information around that. Okay, so that was question 1. HIPAA compliant, not looking to sell your data. We just need it to be able to formulate for you, right? Next, then, about ingredients. That's a great question because foundational nutrition is one thing. I'm not the end all be all, right? There may be something else you need, and I'm always looking, and then you get to the bottom of that label, and it says magnesium stearate. Okay, so let's talk about my ingredients. This was a big thing for me to do some upgrading and up-leveling on our product. When ingredients come to our facility, they have to arrive with a COA and they're sent off for third-party testing. I can happily say that our product is non-GMO, third-party tested. At that beginning, no mold spores, toxins, pesticides, no heavy metals, and that it is exactly what it says it is for purity and potency, right? We then make blends based on genes. Guess what happens? We send it off to third-party testing again. We want to make sure nothing has happened in the blend and that it has to clear that again. Then,
wow.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Finally. Wow. When somebody orders their product, this is a very complex process. It goes through a process of batching, then custom compounding, and then guess what? Before it gets shipped, it gets sent back out to third-party testing one last time. We have to pull what they call it a retain from the batch, and that gets sent to third-party testing before I can ship the product to the individual. So there are no excipients in the product. If you get to the bottom and you're getting it in VeggieCap format, it'll say hypermellose capsules, those are veggie caps, and chlorophyll is a natural green color in plants. So there isn't anything else added, whole food based, and we use organic everywhere we can, but the product is non-GMO. Yeah.
Wow. That's a big process.
It is. I'm sorry. I know it's long, right?
No,
and you said
good.
You only wanted to talk to me for 5 minutes.
That's what we want to know. We want our listeners to know because they're going to ask all of those things because they're savvy people.
Well, we take all that data, and instead of me having, I've got upwards of 75 ingredients dosed for me, and we put it into one jar.
Wow. So you have one formulation, sometimes multiple capsules at a time, depending on the dose of everything. Is that how it works, Kim?
So we have the base of the product is whole foods. Whole foods have micronutrients in them, right? And the way they play with all of the other nutrients that are in the product itself, I don't know. It's powerful. I mean, the stories, are fantastic. So, ultimately, we start with the base, and depending on your genetics is where you're going to get the blends and the boost, we call them boost, that you need for optimization. So we know that an adult dose is 10 veggie caps. Doesn't matter how you split it up through the day. It's 7.5 grams, so you can take it in powder format, but we don't flavor it. So it's got a lot of botanicals in it. Earthy foods. 10% of our customer base does take it in powder format, and some people love it. It's a little earthy for me. I like the veggie caps, and I travel quite a bit, so those work for me. But again, my dose is it's all dosed for me, and people are like, you have to take 10 veggie caps of your customized every day, and I'm like, yeah, I do. I break them up. I do what works for me, and they're like, why can't you make that less? I can't synthesize real food. Would you really want real food synthesized? I mean, that's what we're trying to get away from, right? We want the wholesome, organic, natural, healing. And if these, just like dihydroberberine, let's talk about berberine. You can't eat it. You're not going to eat it. It's too bitter, right? But dihydroberberine is maybe one of the ingredients based on that body mass index gene. They call it the natural Ozempic, right? Because it plays a role in satiety responsiveness. So anyway, that would be one of those ingredients in there. So I'm just telling you that can be bitter, etc. Right? You're understanding there's a lot of upwards of 75 different ingredients. So
well, it's a far cry from what I grew up with. It was a tablespoon, not a capsule, of cod liver oil and my mom's green drink. And she probably made a bunch of the stuff that you guys have in there. And I would just chug that down. So I'd be fine with the powder.
I love it. Yeah, some people love it. We have some famous chef that keeps sending in messages to my support team. He says, I make soups through the winter, and I just put it in whatever kind of soup. He doesn't boil it. He serves the soup and then he puts it in, which is fine, right? And he says it's delicious. And I'm like, that's great idea.
That's awesome. Can you think of anything to add to that, Kim, that we haven't asked you about?
I think the thing is so many people are looking for, if you're listening today, if you're looking for answers, if you're wanting to age the best that you can, if you consider yourself a biohacker and you haven't done your genetics, how are you truly doing all the things you're doing? Are you listening to Tom and Mary down the street? Is somebody guessing for you? Stop the madness. There is so much noise out there. Stop all the madness. Start with you. Do your genetics. We do make it simple to understand. Everything we write is at a 6th grade reading level in the reports. We do all types of free education, recordings, etc. Understanding if you're committed to that. Don't be committed to your health after you're sick. I hate to say that too, because that is our first wealth. But if you're that person that is struggling, looking for answers, you feel like you're doing everything correctly and you're just not getting to where you need to be, or you want to shorten that supplement stack and you want to really hone in on what you're taking and why you're taking it. There's so many reasons. Is it performance? Is it better sleep? Is it better energy? Is it better digestion? I mean, what is it that you are looking for? Ultimately, all of these things are hit and covered in what we do. And let's simplify. Again, this is not the end all be all, and if I could, give a specific example, there's certain things you may track. Do you do symptom trackers? Do you do blood work? Do you do heart rate variability, etc.? But if there's areas you see you're struggling, I take my customized, just finished getting some pretty extensive blood work done. I'm in my mid 50s, and I see that my omegas aren't quite right. Everything is good except for I'm a little bit low. And I'm like, okay, so now I've got to address, am I going to eat more sardines? Am I eating more sardines, or am I going to supplement? So remember, nutrition is a daily thing. This isn't like an event. It wouldn't be one-time sardines. I got to make that decision, right? So I think the thing for your audience is if you're one of those people that feels like you're trying to do everything right or you're confused, because I will tell you, I've had to stop watching so much social media because I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's talking about this and this. Start with you. That's my biggest piece of recommendation is if you can start with yourself, it starts giving you the answers of where you need to go to get to what you need to get where you want to get to with your health goals automatically, because it's what you inherited.
That's beautiful. I mean, it makes so much sense from the foundation up. And somebody might need something else, but that if once you get your genes, the nutrition according to your genes, a lot of things start to fall into place that maybe couldn't before. So
Exactly.
That's really great. And you said that you would give our listeners a discount since you're the CEO.
And since Dr. John is an amazing friend and Tracey, if you're interested, Dr. John did ask if we would be willing to do a coupon. You can, if you go to the website, it's snipnutrition.com. So SNIP nutrition.com. I'm sure Dr. John will put that on there. But enter Harmony, HARMON 2, NY2. So Harmony, the word Harmony, the number 2, and it will, whether you want a DNA test kit or you want to actually you want to start the journey with a one-time order with that or a subscription order. It'll take $50 off of any of those 3 packages.
Ooh, I love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
$50 is $50.
So Harmony, HARMONY 2, the number 2.
Awesome.
We'll have your website in the show notes for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah. This has been great.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I learned so much today. I think it's interesting. It's all, I mean, our DNA, it's our book. It's, no, we don't have a manual, right? So we need to go get our manual, figure out how to take care of our bodies.
My 18-year-old daughter just did a TED Talk.
No,
and it was I loved, she has been on the journey with me because of her own gut health issues pretty much the entire time I've been working with genetics, and her TED Talk just had a totally different spin. And I was really impressed because she's 18 and she's very driven and aware of herself. I mean, when we empower somebody because they understand a little bit more about themselves, it puts them in the driver's seat to make different decisions. And that's what it's about.
18 years old.
Love that. Like I told you, my daughter's 18. When she was 7, and I'm going to make this very brief, she had a headache for a year. Kim, I took her to 13 different doctors over the course of a year. Every single day my daughter woke up, Mom, my head hurts. Right here. Mom, my head hurts. Kim, it was Dr. Karlfeld. In 30 minutes, he was Dr. 14. He figured out that she had a corn and egg food sensitivity. Her diet. All I had to do was change her diet. The very next day, when I stopped giving her high fructose corn syrup and her chocolate milk, I stopped giving her chocolate milk. My daughter didn't have a headache the next morning. She was 7. So from 7 to 8, she endured all of that, right? But then she understood how quickly we fixed it. We fixed it the next day, and then we probiotics, and we took a bunch of supplements that Dr. K put her on. And hearing my daughter now tell her story, she talks about it so eloquent. And she says things like, could people believe in vaccines? And people talk about the flu shot. And she's like, well, they just don't work for my body. She's very like Switzerland. She's very, in the middle. It may work for you, doesn't work for my body. I had a food sensitivity, and one thing that I learned with that whole thing, had I continued to vaccinate her, because I stopped, obviously, after her very first well baby visit, egg is one of the ingredients in vaccinations. She would have lifetime of migraines and never been able to diagnose them because of the egg protein in vaccination. So thankfully I didn't vaccinate her, but hearing her talk, like your daughter, my daughter's had 17, so these last 10 years, we've gone through, or 11 years, we've gone through a holistic lifestyle. We don't eat, junk food per se. So it's,
right.
It's really, I think, empowering to these kids going through experiences like this and then being able to tell their own spin on it. Because it's completely, her story, the way she tells it is completely different from how I tell her story.
Absolutely. That's why I was so impressed when I saw the TED Talk. I was like, wow, you really put a spin on it. I mean, it was totally her. And I was like, this is like, she gets it. She knows she's that person. No dairy, no gluten, no refined sugar.
Chip off the old block.
But I mean, I will tell you, it is honestly very easy to eat gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free these days. We even get our dark chocolate. We get amazing dark chocolate made with coconut sugar. So but that's the thing. And let's go back to this because we're getting down a rabbit hole. This is where I would like to come and say, literally, your health, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not an event. You found something and you made small shifts. Making small shifts. You can't go, oh, I'm going to the gym today and suddenly be buff, or I expect to see something. It is a lifestyle habit. That's the same with our health. But small little steps that are comfortable to you, that feel good to you, that make that change. Just like I'm on a complete clean kick. I usually eat pretty clean, but I decided 2026 is the year of Kim. So,
Love it.
Getting back into shape, really paying attention to my health, really tracking everything, etc. Small steps. One week I did one thing. The next week I pulled one thing out of my diet. I was like, that's something that really needs to come out. Little steps, because food does bring me joy. I need to be able to eat things I love. But making little small modifications, guess what? I'm 40 days in and I don't feel this crazy reason to cheat or want to cheat because I'm satisfied, I'm happy, and I haven't gone, it's all or nothing. I think that's what so many people try to do. It's all or nothing.
Don't you find that you feel better? When you eat better, you feel better?
Yeah. Anybody, when you eat better, you feel better. When you feel better, you do better. When you do better, you're moving your body more, you're making better decisions. You're just being aware.
Great information, Kim. Thank you for joining us today. And maybe we'll get so many questions that we'll have to have you back on soon.
That would be awesome. I appreciate you both. Thank you we have to continue to empower people for their own health and wellness. We really do. And I appreciate all that you guys are doing.
Thanks a lot, Kim.
Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for today. We are honored that you've spent this time with us. Stay grateful, stay grounded. Until next time, Root Cause Holistic Health.
Thanks for tuning in to Root Cause Holistic Health. We're here to help you uncover what's really going on and empower you to take the next step in your healing journey.
Whether you're a mom, a dad, or just someone ready to stop settling for Band-Aid fixes, we hope today's episode gave you something to think about.
If you found this episode valuable, do us a favor, share it with someone you love, and leave a review so we can reach more families like yours.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode. We've got more honest conversations, practical tips, and root cause wisdom coming your way.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and most of all, stay connected to what truly matters.
We'll see you next time on Root Cause Holistic Health.